Today, we will be talking about the education system in Africa and African students studying abroad. Joining me directly from the UK is our special guest, Dr. James Leo. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
So, how is everything over there?
Yeah, everything is fine here.
All right, all right. Okay, based on our previous conversations, Mr. James Leo, I understand you're originally from Nigeria, but then you moved to Turkey, Istanbul, for education. So, what was the reason you left Nigeria, which is arguably one of the best countries in Africa, educational wise, to go to the UK, to go to Turkey for education?
Yeah, I decided to move to Turkey to further my education for two different reasons.
Okay.
One, to experience education as it is outside of our continent.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, to be able to bring back home on our continent that quality of education that has kept the foreign countries moving far ahead of our continent.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And so far, we can already tell that a lot of students leave Africa, same as you did and same as I did, to step into the West for education. So, what advice can you give for those seeking like scholarships and grants to study abroad?
Yeah, exactly. Studying abroad helps in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage people who are disposed to
Mm-hmm.
experiencing education, especially in Western countries,
Mm-hmm.
to do all they can to get the experience.
Okay. All right. Also, from our conversations, I like you told me you are the ex-student president. Is it a student council president of the University of Turkey? That is really big. So, what are some of the challenges you saw some of our foreign students out there facing?
I categorize these questions into three broad categories.
Okay.
There is the language. There is a language challenge. Turkey
Mm-hmm.
is not an English-speaking country. The
Mm-hmm.
national language is Turkish,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, from the category of language, people who get into Turkey for further education often
Mm-hmm.
have the problem of language,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and language is one of the best tools to consider as far as education is concerned. So if you don't have the language of a particular people, it is always very difficult to acclimatize yourself into the educational setting of that country.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the challenge of language. And then again, there is what I call the religious challenge also. It is a country that is largely Islamic. And
Mm-hmm.
people moving from Africa into Turkey often have the challenge of expressing their religious beliefs, not
Mm-hmm.
because the country stops them from doing so, but because often they really do not have a community of their kind of religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And then there is also the economic challenge, which is the third challenge, because Turkey is not one of the biggest nations.
Mm-hmm.
Foreigners from Africa, especially who get into Turkey for further education, are often challenged economically. So
Mm-hmm.
it's quite difficult to work and study at the same time, unlike the situation we have in Canada, US, and in UK. So these are the three
Mm-hmm.
difficulties that I faced while in Turkey.
All right. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like work and study balance, that is a problem not just in Turkey. I would tell you that it's also here in the United States, and I bet our students in Canada are also facing that because
Yeah.
you have to be able to support your bills, and maybe sometimes you have family back home calling for you. So yeah, you also have to be able to support the family back home. So yeah, it's a globalized problem when we leave Africa. It's a globalized problem when we leave Africa. So many of us are leaving Africa and to study abroad, and the tuition is not easy at all. So that is a lot of money leaving our African communities. So what do you think we can do to stop that? To stop sending money out of Africa to better our own system of education back home so that we can stay back home and study there?
Yes, it's one of the questions that have consistently featured in all of my discussions with different bodies.
Okay.
It is quite appalling that the optimism that
Mm-hmm.
follows the massive exodus of young Africans into Western countries for education is
Mm-hmm.
already evaporating.
Okay.
We really do not understand why those of us who have Western education
Mm-hmm.
and then have a sort of solid economic background
Mm-hmm.
cannot invest in education in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is over 100 years since Africans started going abroad for studies. So why do we not have this kind of education as we have in the West in Africa? Right? So that has often, like I said, featured consistently in all of my landmark discussions.
Okay.
So what we have researched as a potential solution to
Mm-hmm.
this, right, is to
Yes.
form international body, you understand, comprising of well-meaning Africans who have Western education and who have the funding to promote and invest in education in Africa. So by the time we are able to have this sort of body, then we begin to put up policies, right,
Mm-hmm.
that will help, to coordinate various levels of educational investment in Africa.
Yeah. Another thing too that I've realized is when when people like travel internationally for education,
Yeah.
our governments don't necessarily try to bring them back home because some of the best medical doctors I've seen here in the United States of America are Nigerian, surprisingly. Yeah, they stay right here because the country makes them so comfortable that they don't want to ever go back to Nigeria to practice medicine. So this keeps the cycle continuing. So I think one of the things too that we have to do is look into the government system because everything always starts with leadership. Yeah, if they could set systems in place to bring them back home after they are done studying, then yeah, then maybe we can break this endless cycle that's been going on for over 60 years. Anyway, thank you so much for that. I hope African youths can stand up to this and try as much as possible, no matter how hard it is, to always go back after their study. So my next question to you is what do you think we can do back in Africa to change our curriculums in the system of our education? Because that is not even to talk about what we are being taught back home is no longer a question of or if it is good or bad. That question has already been answered a long time ago. It's terrible. The system of education is not good back home. It's not practical. It's more of just theory. So what do you think we can do to change our system?
Yes, actually, in education, the question of curriculum lies not just in the effectiveness of
Mm-hmm.
the teaching instruments,
Mm-hmm.
but the outcome. The
Mm-hmm.
outcome. We always talk about the outcome when we talk about educational curriculum.
Yeah.
And you are right when you say that the system is ineffective. It's ineffective in the sense that the outcome has been terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the outcome here refers to what comes out when we have gone through education in Nigeria. I mean, sorry, in Africa at large.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So, what we need to do basically to transform right, to transform the curriculum, first of all, look at the immediate challenges affecting education, right? That's the
Yeah.
first thing to look at, because everything boils down to the effectiveness of the education. So if you want to change the curriculum or transform the curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
education wise, you have to consider those things that are affecting the factors affecting quality education. You understand? And that
Mm-hmm.
has to do with first and foremost investment. Investment. Now, the level of investment in education, like you said, everything begins with the government. The level of investment has been too low, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to bring out the best out of our educational system, right? So to
Mm-hmm.
change the curriculum is not just about redesigning the curriculum that we have, but then bringing a sort of investment into the education. Government budget will have to increase to
Yeah.
drive the motivation of teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also there should be an inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Inclusion here refers to what happens to students when they are out of school, right? You understand? So
Yeah.
these are some of the challenges affecting our quality, affecting the effectiveness of our education. There is discouragement, and this is in constant increase. Discouragement in the sense that most of the educated peoples on the African continent don't get the right kind of job. They are hardly able to fend for themselves. You understand? So
Yeah.
this brings into question the relevance of education. Why do people still need to go to school? That's a question. So the first of all, we need to look at what are the benefits of going to school, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
has to come from government intervention. So
Mm-hmm.
we really need to push the government at the legislative arena to increase what is due for education, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then there has to be incentive for teachers, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
going to steer their motivation into teaching. Otherwise, even if you have the best curriculum,
Yeah.
it doesn't get down to the students when you don't have teachers who are motivated, right?
Yeah.
So you can't keep owning salaries and then you keep improving the level. So the problem is not actually entirely on the curriculum, but on teachers' motivation and on students' motivation. So first, we need to increase government budget for education, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
secondly, we need to increase the number and quality of our teacher training schools. You see that most of the teachers we have on the African continent are
Mm-hmm.
not teachers who are trained to actually teach, but teachers who no longer have other options of career,
Yeah.
right? So they just go into it, and then it becomes like square pegs in round holes, right? So we need to also increase the number and quality of our teacher training schools. You see
Mm-hmm.
that in most of the Western countries, there are specific teacher training schools. You don't just become a teacher because you have gone to school, but you
Mm-hmm.
become a teacher because you are trained to teach, right?
Yeah.
So we need to increase government spending on education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we also need to increase the number and quality of teacher training schools, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we then come down to answering the questions of the African challenges on our curriculum. And
Yeah.
that brings the relevance of your question. How do we change the curriculum? We need to specifically address the challenges facing Africa on our curriculum. So what we have are curriculums designed by Western countries that actually answer the questions affecting their own continent, their own countries. And that's the reason why we do better when we talk about theories. And then in practice, we don't do well because circumstances that we try to address on those curriculums are not circumstances that really have anything to do with us. So in
Absolutely.
theory, like you see, you go to African countries, students can just begin to define photosynthesis, electrolysis, and all of those things, but they don't know these things. You understand?
Yeah.
You take a student on the African continent in the lab to tell you what hydrochloric acid is. The student will not know it. But if you take the student to just make a simple naturalization, like we tell you that when sodium chloride reacts with this it gives you this. That's the problem, right? So
They know the
we really
theory.
need, yeah, it's in theory. So what we need to do on the African continent is to design our curriculum, considering those things that affect us. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Like our own religion, for instance, our own economy, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
our own society, for instance, our own laws, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Our own society. We need to put these things. So why do we study Western societies all through the years and then we
Why are
don't
we
get to
studying
study
the
our
French
own society?
Revolution in Cameroon?
Exactly. Why are you doing the French Revolution in Cameroon? But you understand why are you studying it?
Yeah.
Why it is not entirely wrong is, but then we are giving too much focus to things that don't really matter to us. Why we cast aside those things that matter to us? Now there is a serious political crisis on the African continent, and then we are not even developing curriculum on how to address these challenges. That's a problem. So this is what we need to do: increase government investment on the educational system, right? Increase the
Mm-hmm.
number of and quality of teacher training schools, and then design our curriculum considering those challenges that affect our continent.
You know, Dr. James Leo, when I really realized that the system of education in Africa had a serious fundamental problem was when I saw how fertile our lands are, but we still import even up to wheat from Ukraine. We still import food from China. Processed food that
Yeah,
is being made in labs from
exactly,
China. And then agriculture in school is not compulsory. It's something that
exactly.
you don't even study up to the level of high school. Yeah, and that is a very big topic that should be compulsory. Everybody should study agriculture because that holds the backbone of every economy, food. So yeah, we just sitting in Africa every
Exactly.
day reading theory, but we never get into practice. That's why people graduate from schools like, oh, you hear École Publique, École Travel Publique, and then they are unable to design a building because all they did is solve maths, did the theory, but they cannot be
Yeah,
practical in the field. So yeah, you are absolutely
exactly.
right, sir. We really need to get into this. So what do you think us as students can do to help catalyze this progress? Because if we are hoping on our politicians, trust me, they will never get it done for us.
Exactly. If you realize earlier, I didn't talk about um, using the government to solve the problem of our the problem affecting uh, Africans who go out to study, or what we should do, you
Yeah.
understand, to promote our own kind of education. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason is because when we conducted that research, trying
Yeah.
to know why people travel abroad out of the African continent and why they don't want to return back, you understand, we put so many factors into consideration, as the result of findings from those research. And from the results of findings, we realize that what those of us who have come out of the African continent to study abroad can do, like I said earlier, is to bring our investment onto the African continent. We are the one to do that, right? The investment does not is not about the economic investment alone, but our knowledge investment, right? We have this experience, we have we have the economic potentials to do that. So what we need to do, apart from carry out research constantly, is to come back home, right? Form a body of intervention, African educational intervention, right? That's my proposal in our last meeting, that there should be something called African Educational Intervention Body, right? And this will comprise of people like us who have come to the Western countries to travel for studies. So what we can do is to put our investment together, economic and knowledge investments, and then see how we can how we can bring about this kind of education we have on the Western continent into the African continent, how we can support people to learn in the most practical way possible,
Okay.
right? So we have to begin from that level.
You know, another problem with going back with these investments is how the government have set up the economy for us. It's not very welcoming. Let's say if you were a medical doctor here, or you were like you have a PhD in business and you wanted to go back home and establish, half the time you don't get the government support that you will get out here, and then you get hit with all of these taxes that kills your business before it even start. So
Yeah, that's the
again,
problem.
yeah.
That's the problem.
So how can we fight that? Because that is a big problem right there. We need to be able to break that system for us to be able to go back. We are not welcome back
Yes.
home.
Now, we have a problem. There's a problem of taxation on the African continent.
Yes.
Now, the government still really do not understand the principles of taxation. So they think that by the time you just come from abroad, you already have all of the money. And if your business, they don't often consider the worth of your business when they tax you. So sometimes it is funny when you see, the African government taxing business worth 1 billion, for instance, taxing them 2 billion naira. And then you ask yourself, what is even the worth of the investment? And that is, as I speak to you, about 1,665 foreign investors left Nigeria, right, between 2013 to 2022 from our survey. And you know the reason why? Because just like you mentioned, these investors are being overtaxed. Often the tax is even more than the total worth, the net worth of the net worth of their business. So there is a problem. What we need to do is to get involved more also in the politics, right? So we need to get involved in the politics as people who already understand how this thing works. And then we try to fight our space into the strategic positions. If someone like you, for instance, who already understand this system, is able to find yourself on or in the legislative cadre of government, you will be able to regulate the laws guiding all of this, including tax laws and the rest. Often, what we do have on the African continent are square pegs in round holes. People who are in offices where they are not specialized, right? So that's what I'm saying, that we need to get involved in governance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I speak with you, by 2027, I will be contesting election in Nigeria. I'll
My
be going to
goodness.
the federal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh, that's
exactly.
good. That's really good. I
Yeah,
mean, you'll be perfect for
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look,
Exactly. I'm
look.
contesting election in Nigeria by 2027,
Oh,
and the
look.
reason is
Yeah.
I really need to take my experience and my motivation to save my people, back home. And this is how we can actually intervene. We need to go back to save our country. That's
Absolutely.
just the basis, right? Yeah, we need to get back.
Well,
Yeah.
Dr. James Leo, whenever you're ready for that, just know we are here to support you as much as you need. And looking at your portfolio, definitely you're the man for that job. You're the man for that job.
I trust you.
All right, you've mentioned
Yeah.
severally that you've conducted certain studies. I don't know if it was with the University of Turkey or with the research center at UK right now. So where can we find these studies? Do you guys have like a website where we can visit to read the articles that you guys have posted? Did you get the questions? I know the
Sorry,
network is
please. I
kind of.
didn't. I didn't get your question, please. There was an
Oh,
interruption.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me rephrase it. My question was, you have mentioned repeatedly that you've conducted a study. I don't know if it was in Turkey or in the UK presently. So
Yeah.
where can we go to? Where is there a website we can visit to consume this knowledge?
Yeah, yes, of course. There are a lot of places you can go to have a feast on this research.
Okay.
Like I said, majority of my research are with Istanbul University, Turkey. So if you go to the research site
Mm-hmm. The network is breaking, Mr. James Leo. I don't know if it's from my own end or yours.
If you did.
Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. The network
Yeah,
was
hello.
breaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah,
very well.
I think the network problem must be from here, not from your side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, I was saying that to have a feast on the outcome of our numerous research, we will
Mm-hmm.
have to visit Istanbul University research section. The
Okay.
research section, if you focus on the African research on African continent, you will see that I am a dominant contributor in that section.
Okay.
Also, there's been a couple of research also I've conducted with the Cranfield University, United
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom here, and
Mm-hmm.
the British Defense Academy. So if
Mm-hmm.
you go to the website of these mentioned institutions, and then you go to the research on the African section, you will
Mm-hmm.
also find me there as a dominant contributor. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, our viewers, you guys heard him. So we will put a link on this video so that you can go and study this research. We all need to work together to make sure that we get the knowledge we learn out here back to Africa and change the system of education, because it all starts with what we learn and then what we teach the younger generations to come to actually better our continent. So yeah, Mr. James, so that is it for the questions I had for you today. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience before we let you go on about your day? Hello?
Sorry?
The network again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that is it we had for you today. That's all the questions. The network is terrible. I don't think it's from my own end. I think it's from you.
Yeah. No, it is. It is from my place. It is from my side here. I
Oh,
understand.
okay. So yeah, what I was saying is that is it for the questions I had for you today. Is there anything
All
else you want
right.
to share with our audience before we let you go?
Yes, I'm encouraging everyone, right,
Mhm.
to intervene on the African situation. We really need to save our continents. We
Mhm.
are sliding backward. We are
Mhm.
100 miles or even more beyond other continents of the world. And the onus is on us to really put our continent, on the face of the world.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. James Leo. And of course, we will revisit this topic again as we go down the line. And I'm really looking forward to you running for office in 2027, like you said. So, yeah, we will be looking forward to that. So, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all so much for joining our episode today. And that was
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you
James
so
Leo.
much.
All right, sir. You have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
day.
much.